The docking bay lights shimmered like broken stars as Lieutenant Aaron Vale stepped onto Lyrion Station for the first time. He'd been briefed, warned, lectured. The Kethari Alliance values beauty as virtue, symmetry as moral purity. But none of that prepared him for the quiet cruelty humming through the hall that day. He heard the laughter before he saw its source. Not the warm kind. The thin, brittle kind that cut. Half a dozen Kethari diplomats stood gathered in a loose half-circle, crystalline robes reflecting soft lavender light as they murmured among themselves. They actually assigned her, one whispered. A human liaison, another replied amused, cruel even for us. Aaron slowed, a frown forming. He'd been on humanitarian postings across 3 systems. He knew the smell of wrongness when he sensed it. Ambassador Rowan, walking beside him, muttered, "Brace yourself. They're using you for theater." "I don't do theater," Aaron said. "You might today." They entered the ceremonial hall. Dozens of species mingled, but the Kethari, tall, shimmering, effortlessly graceful, stood out like carved marble. They were all facing the same direction, toward someone standing alone, and then he saw her. She was Kethari unmistakably, elegant lines, violet eyes, skin that refracted light like frost. But across the right side of her face ran a branching pattern of flawed luminescence. Fractures in the crystalline dermal layer that glimmered irregularly, interrupting the perfect symmetry her people prized. According to Kethari standards, she was fractured, imperfect, unfit for public roles. According to Aaron Vale, she was striking, beautiful in a way that felt real, lived, weathered by survival instead of sculpted convention. "What's her name?" he asked quietly. "Kaelyn," Rowan said. "Former tactical analyst, brilliant. Saved dozens during an atmospheric breach 4 years ago." Her mouth tightened. "They don't talk about that. They only talk about her face now. And they assigned her to me because they think you'll reject her." Rowan's voice held disgust. "They think it proves something about humans, about all of us." Aaron's jaw tightened. The Kethari lead diplomat, High Envoy Kaelyn, stepped forward with a delicate smile. "Lieutenant Vale, your liaison." Kaelyn didn't look at him, not out of arrogance, out of discipline. She stood perfectly straight, hands clasped, refusing to give the gathered nobles the satisfaction of seeing how much this spectacle cost her. "You may, of course," Kaelyn added, "request a replacement." Silence rolled through the chamber. Aaron walked forward, not rushed, not hesitant, just steady. He stopped in front of Kaelyn, close enough to see the microfractures catch the light like starlight trapped in glass. "Kaelyn," he said softly. Her eyes flickered up, sharp, intelligent, defensive, braced for the humiliation she thought was coming. Aaron extended his hand in a human greeting, palm open and warm. "It's an honor to meet you," he said. "I've been looking forward to working together." A ripple moved through the hall. Confusion, whispering, startled irritation. Kaelyn blinked. "You are not requesting reassignment." "Why would I?" Aaron asked. "You're the one who rerouted the atmospheric sealant grid during the breach on level 32. 212 lives saved. That's the person I want advising me." She stared at him, truly stared, like he had spoken a language she had never heard before. Behind them, Kaelyn stiffened. "Lieutenant Vale, perhaps you are unaware of Kethari standards of." "I'm aware," Aaron said calmly, still holding Kaelyn's gaze. "I just don't share your definition of worth." A silence heavy enough to bend metal settled across the chamber. Kaelyn exhaled, an almost imperceptible tremor in her breath. Slowly, tentatively, her hand rose, crystalline fingertips brushing his palm before committing to the handshake fully. Her skin was cool, like polished stone warmed by starlight. "I accept the assignment," she said, voice steady despite everything around her. "If you are certain." "I'm certain." Aaron turned slightly, addressing Kaelyn with diplomatic precision sharpened by steel. "Thank you for assigning someone of Kaelyn's expertise. I look forward to learning from her." Kaelyn's expression fractured more dramatically than Kaelyn's skin ever had. The crowd didn't know how to react. Kethari beauty politics didn't account for a human refusing the script. Kaelyn didn't move until he released her hand. Then she breathed, subtly but unmistakably, like someone who had been underwater far too long and finally broke the surface. "Lieutenant Vale," she said softly, "I appreciate your professionalism." "It's not professionalism," Aaron replied. "It's respect." Her eyes widened just slightly. And for the first time since he'd entered the hall, Aaron felt the shift, something small but seismic. When a person used to being unseen realizes some. Kaelyn's quarters were located in the quieter crescent of Lyrion Station, where the lighting was softer and the walls hummed with the faint warmth of circulating energy. She walked ahead of Aaron with the poised precision of someone who had spent years practicing invisibility. No wasted motion, no hesitation, no eye contact with anyone who might notice her. Aaron didn't miss the way crowds subconsciously parted around her. Not out of fear, out of discomfort. As if her presence held up a mirror to a truth they didn't want to see, perfection wasn't permanent. When they reached her door, she paused, then stepped aside politely. If you'd prefer to speak in a more neutral location, there is a conference alcove down the corridor. Aaron shook his head. Your space is fine if that's okay with you. Kaelyn blinked, clearly unaccustomed to anyone asking what was okay with her, but she nodded and opened the door. Her quarters were immaculate, almost painfully so. Minimal furniture, surfaces completely cleared. No personal effects beyond a single crystalline data tablet on her desk and a folded uniform laid with geometric precision. You keep things organized, Aaron said gently as she gestured to a chair. It reduces unpredictability, Kaelyn replied, standing instead of sitting. Unpredictability is inefficient. You mean uncomfortable. Her eyes flickered. The two are often synonymous. He didn't push. Instead, he sat and let the silence settle just enough before he spoke. Kaelyn, earlier in the hall, what they did to you wasn't professional or cultural, it was cruelty. She didn't react at first, then her jaw tightened. You misunderstand. The Kethari uphold harmony through aesthetic balance. Imperfections disrupt that balance. Aaron's voice softened. Scars aren't imperfections, they're stories. Kaelyn inhaled sharply, as if the concept was physically foreign. She lifted a hand and touched the branching fractures along her right cheek, light catching and scattering, turning her skin into a mosaic of soft glimmers. This is not a story, she said. It is a disqualification. For who? Aaron asked. Your people or you? She froze. No diplomat ever asked her that. After a long moment, she spoke. Both. Aaron leaned forward slightly. I don't believe that. Kaelyn's composure wavered, not visibly but in the smallest shifts. The way her fingers curled, the flicker in her eyes, the subtle tension at the corners of her shoulders. You should refuse me as liaison, she said quietly. It would be understandable. That's not happening. Because you pity me. Because I respect you. Kaelyn's breath caught, and for a heartbeat she looked almost startled. You do not know me, she said, not defensively but with something like confusion. I know enough, Aaron replied. I know what you did during the atmospheric breach. I know you saved an entire operations wing when the structural supports collapsed. I know you had a brilliant tactical career until your culture decided a face mattered more than a mind. Her expression flickered in a way that made Aaron's chest tighten. No one has said anything like that since before the accident, she whispered. That sounds like their failure, not yours. The air in the room shifted, charged, brittle, intimate. Kaelyn wasn't used to this kind of closeness, emotional or physical, and Aaron sensed the weight of it settling over her like new gravity. Finally, she straightened, steadying herself. Lieutenant Vale, you must understand. The Kethari consider symmetry a moral alignment. A fractured face implies a fractured spirit. I am marked. And what do you consider it? Kaelyn looked away. I do not remember. The vulnerability in her voice was so quiet Aaron almost missed it. Then we'll remember together, he said gently. She looked back at him, eyes widening again, this time with something fragile but unmistakable. Why? She asked. Because working with someone brilliant, brave, and honest is exactly what I want. Kaelyn swallowed hard, then unexpectedly she laughed, soft, disbelieving, but real. It sounded like a sound she hadn't used in years. You are exceptionally direct for a human diplomat, she said. Where I grew up, we call that honesty. I am unfamiliar with the concept, she replied dryly. Aaron grinned. You'll get used to it. For the first time since he'd met her, Kaelyn relaxed. Not fully, not entirely, but enough that the air around her seemed to shift, the rigid lines of her posture easing by degrees. She moved to sit across from him, hands folded neatly, as if learning how to exist in this new dynamic. Very well, she said softly. If you insist on treating me with respect, I should warn you, it will complicate your mission. That's fine, Aaron said. I like complications. You will earn the Kethari's resentment. I've earned worse. Kaelyn's lips curved, just barely to the echo of a smile. Aaron stood. Tomorrow morning, first diplomatic briefing, I'll bring coffee. I have never tried human coffee, Kaelyn said, intrigued despite herself. Prepare emotionally, Aaron said. It's terrible, but it's tradition. That earned the faintest sparkle in her eyes. As Aaron stepped toward the door, Kaelyn spoke again, soft, hesitant, as if the words themselves were unfamiliar. "Lieutenant Vale, thank you for not participating in the joke." Aaron turned, meeting her gaze fully. "It wasn't a joke," he said. "It was a test, and you passed it long before I arrived." Kaelyn's breath hitched. Her crystalline fractures shimmered in the low light, scattering soft violet reflections. She looked beautiful, not because of symmetry. Because of truth. Aaron left her quarters, feeling something shift in his... By morning, the station's diplomatic wing hummed with quiet tension. Kethari delegates glided through the corridors with their polished perfection, crystalline robes flowing behind them like liquid starlight. The moment Kaelyn and Aaron entered the briefing room, every conversation paused, subtle but unmistakable. Kaelyn felt the weight of their gazes immediately. She straightened her spine, defaulting to the disciplined posture she'd perfected over years of trying not to be noticed. Aaron noticed, of course. "Hey," he murmured to her, handing over a steaming cup. "Caffeine and moral support, both terrible but effective." She accepted it with cautious curiosity, studying the drink as though it might explode. Do humans always begin their mornings by consuming bitter liquids? "It's either that or emotional breakdowns," Aaron said. "Caffeine is faster." Her expression softened, an almost smile as she took a tentative sip. She winced immediately. "It is aggressively unpleasant. Welcome to the human experience." She took another sip anyway. Before she could respond, Thalen entered the room with two high-ranking advisors in tow. Their expressions tightened when they saw Kaelyn standing beside Aaron rather than at the far end of the table, silent and invisible. "Lieutenant Vale," Thalen said smoothly, "we request a moment before the session begins." Aaron gestured politely. "Speak freely." Thalen's gaze shifted to Kaelyn with a clinical coldness. "Your liaison has a designated role, silent observation, nothing more. It would be best for all parties if she maintained proper expectations." Kaelyn lowered her eyes automatically, a conditioned response, but Aaron spoke before she could. "That won't work for me," he said calmly. Thalen's crystalline brows lifted. "Excuse me. I expect my advisor to advise me," Aaron said. "Kaelyn will speak when she has insight, which she will, frequently." A ripple ran through the Kethari, like a dropped stone in water. Kaelyn looked up sharply, caught between alarm and something much more dangerous. Hope. Thalen's voice sharpened. "Lieutenant, this is not your cultural practice. Among the Kethari, those with fract." Aaron cut him off so smoothly, so politely, it almost didn't feel like interruption. "Thalen, Kaelyn's competence is not up for debate." "You misunderstand our standards," Thalen replied. "Her imperfections are irrelevant to her qualifications," Aaron finished. Silence, dense, electric. For the first time, Kaelyn wasn't shrinking from it. She was watching, and something in her expression changed. Thalen exhaled sharply through clenched teeth. "Your attachment to this liaison is creating complications." "It's called respect," Aaron said. "I recommend trying it." Kaelyn made a small sound, too soft for anyone but Aaron to hear. A sound halfway between shock and an exhale she'd been holding for years. Before Thalen could respond, representatives from 3 other species entered the room, forcing the Kethari to maintain diplomatic composure. They took their seats, the session officially beginning. Kaelyn moved to take her place behind Aaron, but he stopped her with a glance. "Sit next to me," he said quietly, her breath hitched. "That is not customary." "Good thing I'm not Kethari," he murmured. She hesitated, eyes flicking briefly to the others in the room. Then she sat, at his side. Equal position, full visibility, whispers erupted immediately. The meeting began, charts flickered into view, agreements projected in light. Halfway through a trade discussion, one of the Kethari advisors presented a revised clause regarding mineral rights. Aaron scanned it, then frowned. "Kaelyn," he said softly, "your thoughts." The chamber froze. Kaelyn wasn't supposed to speak here. Kaelyn never spoke here. She looked at the clause again. Old instincts, brilliant, sharp, tactical, ignited. "This violates 3 previous Kethari commitments," she said clearly. "If enacted, it would destabilize the agreement with the Vashari collective." Thalen went rigid. "Kaelyn, you overstep." "She's correct," Aaron said. "Show us the data." Kaelyn did, efficient, precise, unshakable. The entire room watched her, really watched her for the first time. When she finished, the Vashari delegate nodded approvingly. "Insightful. I did not realize Kethari liaising produced such capable analysts." Thalen's jaw tightened so sharply a fracture might have formed. Aaron leaned subtly toward Kaelyn. "Nice work." Her pulse spiked. Thank you, she breathed. The meeting continued with Kaelyn offering input when asked and sometimes when not asked. Aaron encouraged her each time, shaping the expectation that she had a voice, a place, a function that did not involve hiding. By the end of the session, 4 delegates had approached her with inquiries, surprising her so deeply she responded with a stiffness that resembled panic. Aaron stepped closer, lowering his voice. Hey, you did great. Kaelyn looked at her hands, at the faint tremble she couldn't stop. I have not been permitted to speak publicly in years. Then today was overdue. Her eyes lifted, luminous with something tender and raw. This visibility, her voice was a whisper. It frightens me. Aaron's expression softened. I know, but you're not alone in it. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then one of the Kethari elites brushed past, muttering just loud enough. A fractured can imitate competence, but it will never compensate for imperfection. Aaron's hand tightened around his datapad, not enough to break it, but close. Kaelyn didn't flinch, not visibly, but her light dimmed. Aaron stepped forward before the man took another step. Envoy, he said evenly, Kaelyn's input improved the accuracy of today's negotiations by 23%. If you'd like, I can read the report aloud so everyone hears it. The envoy froze. Every representative in the room was now watching. Aaron continued, or you can apologize. The envoy paled. Kaelyn stared at Aaron like he had done something she didn't understand, couldn't process, couldn't believe. I will reconsider my phrasing, the envoy muttered, bowing stiffly before walking away as fast as dignity allowed. Aaron turned back to Kaelyn. You okay? She looked stunned, then, Aaron, her voice trembled. No one has ever defended me like that. Get used to it, he said softly. I'm not done. Kaelyn inhaled. Lyrion Station's observatory was quiet at night. Quiet in the way space itself was quiet. A hush that made every emotion feel amplified. Aaron had invited Kaelyn there after the day's intense negotiations, partly to debrief, partly because he sensed she needed air that wasn't saturated with Kethari politics. Kaelyn stood by the massive viewport, bathed in the violet glow of a distant nebula. Her reflection shimmered against the glass, fractured light tracing across her right cheek, turning her scars into constellations. She hadn't spoken since they entered. Aaron let the silence settle, then approached slowly. You did more than well today, he said softly. You changed the room. Kaelyn didn't look at him. I disrupted it. You elevated it. She shook her head, hands clasped behind her back with rigid formality. You don't understand. Public contribution is a privilege among the Kethari. I forfeited that privilege the day my face fractured. Aaron stepped to her side, close enough to see her breath fogging the glass. You didn't forfeit anything, he said. They took it. Her fingers twitched, like she wanted to believe him but couldn't let herself. You don't know what it was like, she said quietly. After the accident, I lost more than symmetry. I lost status, position, purpose. When Kethari look at me, they do not see a veteran or a tactician. They see broken crystal. Damaged structure, a reminder that beauty is fragile. Her voice tightened. They do not like reminders. Aaron's expression softened. And when I look at you, I see someone who held a collapsing bulkhead long enough for your team to escape. Someone who saved more lives than most people meet in a lifetime. I see strength. Kaelyn turned sharply toward him, eyes widening as though the words physically struck her. No one says such things to me, she whispered. They should. But they don't. Aaron took a small step closer. Then let me be the first of many. Kaelyn inhaled sharply, uncertainty flickering through every line of her body. Aaron, your perspective is shaped by human sentiment. We value different things. He smiled faintly. Yeah, humans value character. And Kethari value perfection. Well, he said, they're wrong. She made a sound, not quite a laugh, not quite disbelief, and turned back to the viewport. The nebula light traced her features again, bathing her scars in celestial glow. She looked ethereal, strong, beautiful, though Aaron suspected she would never accept that word applied to her. Not yet. You know, he added gently, your fractures refract light in ways no other Kethari can. Doesn't that make you unique? Kaelyn blinked, startled. Unique is not desirable. It is to me. This time she stared at him, breath catching, eyes softening into something unguarded. You speak so easily, she murmured, as if it costs you nothing to see me differently. It doesn't cost me anything, he said. It's natural. Kaelyn swallowed, a slow, trembling motion. Why? She asked. Aaron hesitated not because he didn't know the answer, but because it might reveal more than he intended. He settled on honesty. It had never failed him with her. "Because I don't see what they see," he said. "I see you, who you are, how you think, how you act, how you hold the line even when you stand alone." The words dropped into the silence like stones into water. Kaelyn looked down. "If you continue to speak to me this way, Aaron Vale, you will make me hope for things I have not allowed myself to hope for." Aaron's chest tightened. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing." Kaelyn shook her head slowly, the movement filled with quiet conflict. "Hope is dangerous. So is staying invisible." Her breath trembled. Then she asked something he didn't expect, voice barely a whisper. "Why did you defend me today?" "Truly, because you deserved it." She searched his face as though trying to detect deceit where none existed. "No one has believed that in 4 years," she said. "Not even me." Aaron angled himself to face her fully. "Then let me say it clearly," he said. "You deserved better than what happened to you, better than how they treat you, better than being assigned as an insult." His voice dropped. "And you deserve someone in your corner." Kaelyn's hand lifted, reflexively toward her fractures, but halfway there she stopped, fingers curling in midair as though she was fighting a deeply ingrained instinct of shame. Aaron gently reached out, hovering his hand near hers. "May I?" he asked softly, her breath caught. "Why would you want to?" "Because you shouldn't have to hide from your own reflection." A heartbeat passed, then with trembling resolve, Kaelyn nodded. Aaron's fingertips brushed the outer edge of her fractured cheek, not touching the cracks themselves, but the smooth surface just beside them. Her skin was cool, crystalline, shimmering under nebula light. Kaelyn closed her eyes, a small gasp escaping her. The touch wasn't intimate by human standards, but for a Kethari it was profound. "Aaron," her voice shook, "this is not appropriate." "It's honest," he said. Her eyes opened slowly, luminous and uncertain. "No one touches my fractures," she said, "ever." "Maybe they should." Kaelyn stepped back sharply, not in rejection but overwhelmed. Her breath shuddered as she turned away, hands gripping the railing. I need a moment." "Take all you need," Aaron said softly. They stood silently, the nebula shifting across the viewport in slow currents of violet and blue. After a long time, Kaelyn spoke again, without turning. "Your presence is destabilizing." "In a good way or bad way?" Aaron asked. "I do not know yet." Aaron smiled gently. "We'll figure it out." Kaelyn exhaled, soft and trembling. "You treat me as though I am whole." "You are whole," he replied. "Scars don't mean broken." She closed her eyes again, absorbing that like a truth her bones were too unfamiliar with. Then, after a long moment, she said the most unexpected thing of all. "Aaron, will you walk with me tomorrow?" The next morning, the diplomatic concourse buzzed with unusual activity. Word of yesterday's negotiations, specifically Kaelyn's unexpected expertise, had spread faster than official reports could keep up. Delegates from multiple species paused mid-conversation when she walked by, their eyes lingering with curiosity rather than disdain. Kaelyn noticed every glance. She always did. But today, for the first time, they didn't all feel like cuts. Maybe because Aaron walked beside her. Not ahead, not behind, beside. A Kethari elder passing in the corridor stopped abruptly upon seeing them. His eyes widened at the impropriety of their proximity. "Kaelyn," he said slowly, as if unsure he was addressing the correct person. "I heard you contributed significantly yesterday." Kaelyn froze. This was not praise. This was evaluation, a test. "Yes, Elder," she said, voice carefully neutral. "Unexpected." His gaze flicked across her fractures with clinical detachment. "Perhaps Lieutenant Vale's influence has encouraged you to overreach." Before Kaelyn could respond, Aaron stepped forward. "Her analysis prevented a diplomatic violation," he said evenly. "I'd call that competence, not overreach." The elder stiffened. "Human, this does not concern." "It concerns me entirely," Aaron said. "Kaelyn is my advisor. Her performance reflects directly on my delegation." Kaelyn's pulse spiked. Humans weren't supposed to interject here. But Aaron wasn't a normal diplomat. The elder frowned, caught between cultural arrogance and visible uncertainty. Her imperfections still raise concerns. Aaron smiled, not warmly, diplomatically, sharpened steel wrapped in silk. "I prefer to work with people who understand adversity," he said. "Perfection rarely teaches anything useful." The elder opened his mouth, then closed it again, unable to counter the logic without insulting multiple species present. He left with stiff dignity. Kaelyn let out a slow breath the moment he disappeared around the corner. You keep doing that, she whispered, intervening. You keep needing it, Aaron replied gently. One day you won't. She looked at him, expression tight with quiet conflict. My standing is not yours to protect. Then it's a good thing I'm not protecting your standing, Aaron said. I'm respecting your worth. Kaelyn blinked hard. That word, worth, hit deeper than any compliment. They entered the operations wing where today's negotiations would take place. A small crowd had gathered near the entrance. Kethari delegates clustered around a performance dais. Soft harmonic tones shimmered in the air, though something was off. The resonance wavered, struggling to maintain its structure. Aaron recognized the sound immediately. Is that a Kethari choral demonstration? Kaelyn nodded. Yes. A traditional harmony piece. It requires an anchor tone to. A sudden discordant crack shattered the air. One of the crystalline singers winced as the central resonance collapsed with an audible snap. The audience murmured in discomfort. Kaelyn stiffened. They've lost the anchor frequency. Can they recover? Not without someone to reestablish the tonal foundation. Kaelyn's voice tightened. It requires absolute pitch control. Only a few are trained for it. Aaron studied her. Are you one of them? Kaelyn looked as though he had asked her to jump into vacuum. I haven't performed in years, she whispered. Not since the accident. My fractures change the way sound refracts across my face. It would be visible. Kaelyn, Aaron said gently, that performance is falling apart. Can you fix it? Her eyes darted to the struggling choir, to the failing resonance, to the growing embarrassment of the Kethari delegates. Yes, she admitted softly. Technically. Then do it. Her breathing grew shallow. Aaron, performing publicly is. I know, he said, and I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe you could. Kaelyn's fingers curled at her sides. She took one step forward, then another. The crowd reacted instantly, whispers rising. What is she doing? She cannot be allowed. A fractured performing. Kaelyn mounted the dais, shoulders tight, face pale with tension. The choir members stared in shock, but none moved to stop her, not fast enough. She lifted her chin, and she sang. The sound that emerged was unlike anything Aaron had heard in his life. Clear, resonant, crystalline. A tone so pure it vibrated through the air like a thread of light. Her fractures refracted the harmonic waves, creating shimmering overtones the choir had never produced. The choir faltered, then aligned with her anchor tone. The room transformed. A flawed performance became transcendent. Aaron watched the delegates' expressions shift, from irritation to confusion to awe. Even the Kethari who despised her beauty condition couldn't deny what they were hearing. When the final tone faded, silence blanketed the hall. Then, thunderous applause from every species, except the Kethari who looked frozen between outrage and shock. Kaelyn stood trembling, not visibly, but Aaron felt it in the air around her. He stepped forward, offering his hand as she descended from the dais. She hesitated only a moment before accepting it. Her voice shook. I shouldn't have done that. You absolutely should have, Aaron said, smiling softly. Kaelyn, that was incredible. She looked at him, eyes bright with something fierce and fragile. No one has heard me sing since the accident, she whispered. I thought I had lost that part of myself. Looks like it was waiting for the right moment. Kaelyn's breath trembled, a mix of disbelief and dawning pride. Before she could reply, Thalen stormed toward them, his crystalline robes shaking with indignation. Kaelyn, he hissed, you acted without permission, you embarrassed your delegation. Aaron stepped between them without hesitation. She saved your performance, he said calmly. You should be thanking her. Thalen's voice rose. You presume to dictate Kethari standards. No, Aaron said. I presume to acknowledge skill. Kaelyn stared at him, stunned by the ease with which he challenged power for her. Thalen's mouth twisted. Your attachment to this fractured liaison is inappropriate. Aaron didn't blink. My respect for her is appropriate. Your treat. The notification arrived early, before the lights had fully risen in the station's diurnal cycle. Kaelyn stood frozen before her console, the holographic seal of the Kethari High Council glowing in cold blue. Aaron entered the shared office moments later, coffee in hand, ready to tease her about her growing tolerance for human bitterness. But the moment he saw her face, still unreadable but brittle in a way that alarmed him, he set the cup down. Kaelyn, he asked softly, what's wrong? She didn't turn around. The council reviewed my recent performance. Her voice was calm, too calm. They are reconsidering my status. Aaron's pulse kicked. That sounds like good news. It is a reassignment, she said. A position in the Diplomatic Education Corps, training future liaisons, a role of high responsibility. That is good news. Kaelyn finally turned, and Aaron felt something twist in his chest. She looked lost. It would require my immediate return to Kethari Prime, she continued. I would be removed from this assignment. The room felt suddenly smaller. Kaelyn, he said carefully, do you want to go? Her jaw tightened. I do not know. Then tell me what you're feeling. Her breath trembled. Aaron, this opportunity is something I have dreamed of since before the accident. Validation, recognition, a place in my society again. And what else? He pressed gently. Her eyes flickered. Returning means accepting conditional worth. They would use my skills but not accept me, not truly. My fractures would still define the limits of my future. Aaron stepped closer, and staying. Kaelyn swallowed hard. Staying means choosing a path not sanctioned by my people, choosing uncertainty, choosing visibility. Her eyes lifted to meet his, fragile and shining. Choosing you. Aaron's breath stopped. The words hung between them, soft but seismic. He forced his voice steady. Kaelyn, what do you want? Not what they want, not what protocol demands, what you want. She closed her eyes tightly, as if admitting the answer would break something inside her. I want, her voice shook. I want what being here feels like. I want to keep working with someone who sees me as more than my fractures, someone who challenges me, someone who... She stopped, emotions choking off the sentence. Aaron took a step closer. Someone who what? She opened her eyes. They were luminous, vulnerable, terrified. Someone who treats me as though I am whole. Aaron exhaled a quiet, aching sound. You are whole, he said softly. Kaelyn's composure cracked, just a hairline fracture like the ones across her cheek, but enough. Aaron, I need to ask you something, and you must answer honestly. Always. She took a slow, trembling breath. These feelings I have, this connection, this warmth when you speak to me, this hope when you look at me, is this what humans call attachment? Or am I confusing gratitude with something else? Tell me honestly, what is this between us? Aaron's heart pounded. He took one more step until he was close enough to feel the faint, cool aura of her crystalline skin. It's not just gratitude, he said quietly. It's something deeper. How do you know? She whispered. Because I feel it too. Kaelyn's breath caught audibly. Aaron. He lifted a hand, slowly, giving her every chance to refuse, and touched the unfractured side of her cheek with gentle fingertips. She shuddered not from discomfort, but from the unfamiliarity of being touched without disgust, without pity, without judgment. I didn't want to say anything before, Aaron murmured. You've spent years believing you're unworthy of connection. I didn't want to pressure you, but Kaelyn, I've fallen for you, not despite your fractures, not ignoring them, because they're part of the story of who you are. Kaelyn stared at him, eyes wide, shimmering, struggling to process words her culture never prepared her to hear. You fell, her voice cracked. For me. For you, he repeated. For your mind, your courage, your strength, your stubbornness, your ability to rebuild entire diplomatic structures with one sentence. And yes, for your face, too. It's beautiful, Kaelyn, you're beautiful. Her lips parted in a soundless gasp. No one has ever called me that since the accident, she whispered. Not once. They were wrong, Aaron said. Every single one of them. Her crystalline fractures shimmered as tears pooled, refracting light into trembling violet sparks. Aaron, she whispered, voice breaking, I don't know how to do this. Kethari rituals are formal, binding. Human customs seem overwhelming. I don't know how to be what you want. You don't have to know, Aaron said softly. We'll figure it out together, no rules, no scripts, just us. She looked at him, really looked, and something inside her settled. Then she stepped closer, slowly, bravely, until her forehead touched his, a Kethari gesture of trust, of chosen bond. Aaron Vale, she whispered, I choose to stay. Warmth surged through him, fierce and grounding. He lifted his hands to cup her face gently, careful not to disturb the fractures, and she closed her eyes, leaning into the touch like it was something she had craved without knowing its name. The moment was fragile and perfect. They stood like that for a long time, two people reshaping each other's worlds with nothing more than honesty and courage. When Kaelyn finally pulled back, she was smiling, not a small, cautious smile. A real one. I will send my reply to the council, she said. I am declining their offer. Aaron exhaled, relief lighting up his whole expression. Are you sure? Yes, she said. For the first time in years, I am very sure. A soft chime echoed. A message from Ambassador Rowan, meeting in 10 minutes. Bring Kaelyn, and tell her she's caused an interspecies diplomatic uproar in a good way. Aaron laughed softly, ready to face the politics. Kaelyn stepped beside him, no hesitation, no shrinking back. I am not invisible anymore, she said quietly.